Welcome to this evening's Mayoral Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. We'd like to welcome you all to the forum tonight. We'd like to thank specifically the Chamber for putting this together. I know when they originally had their morning breakfast, this was on an evening one, which makes it a little bit easier for people who have jobs or if you're busy in the morning to make it. So we do appreciate the Chamber doing that. We will have a format of a 3-minute opening statement and then 2 minutes for each question. We will rotate back and forth. So with that, we will go ahead and start. I'd like to introduce Dave Thorpe. He is a candidate for mayor, and also introduce Seth Adams. I'd like to say personally, thank you. We need a mayor, and these men have stepped up. And I would also say that we've had 3 mayors over the last 20-some years. One gentleman filled a lot of those years for us. So we are very fortunate, and I look forward to see which one of these 2 gentlemen is the next mayor. Let's go ahead and start out. We'll have 3 minutes for this. If you would, gentlemen, tell us a little bit about your background and give us some information about your candidacy. And by prearrangement, we'll start out with Seth Adams.
Thanks, Alan, very much, and thanks for the turnout. I appreciate everybody showing up. My name is Seth Adams, and I'm not originally from here. I'm from Eastern Oklahoma, but I've lived here now for 2 years. But my family has lived here for a lot longer than that. My father, his name is Perry Adams. I'm sure a lot of you know him. He's actually standing in the back. And he was, he's the retired superintendent here in Clinton. He was the superintendent for the longest time. My mother, her name was Leah Adams, and she worked for the Methodist Church for a long time as a youth minister. She now works for USPS, and they both still live here about 10 miles north of town. I have a brother who's also an attorney. He's 18 months older than I am. I'm 32 years old, and he's an attorney in town with Thistle O'Hara. He has a wife and 3 kids, I'm sure all of whom will attend Clinton Public Schools. I have a younger sister. She's 2 years younger than I am. Her name is Paige, and she is a teacher she teaches math at Clinton Middle School. And I'm a relatively young person to be running for mayor, and I appreciate that, and I understand that, but I know that I can use that to my advantage, and I know that you can think about that when you decide to whom you're going to cast your vote to. I'm just starting my business. I think that's my dad talking. He's telling me to go ahead. I'm just now starting my business off. I'm new to I graduated law school about 2 years ago, so I have a vested interest in seeing the city of Clinton grow. And eventually, I'll be here to raise a family. So if I'm mayor, when I make policy decisions to advise Steve Hewitt, I will be making those decisions for him to invest in the city of Clinton for persons like me. And for persons, I hope every walk of life type of persons, but specifically for people like me who want to come to Clinton and invest their time and money in Clinton in professional services, I'm looking towards development of not just basic services for flat-out economic development, but I'm also talking about other services that we can invest in that don't necessarily make money, but will allow people to make the decision to move here. And one specific thing that I can talk about is Acton Creek Park, and I hope that we get into questions about that a little bit later on. I personally think that the city of Clinton is moving in the right direction, and if I'm mayor, I want to keep us moving in that right direction. And I can give you all a lot of facts as to why I think the city is moving in the right direction. We faced a historic drought the last 2 years, and because of wise decisions, we got through this last year without sacrificing really anything but our lawns. So we were still able to take showers, drink from the faucet, and very importantly, the businesses in Clinton, Flores, the ice plant, Mars, and Clinton Laundry were able to maintain their businesses. And that's just one example, and I see my time is up, but I hope we get into a lot of other examples as to why the city of Clinton is moving in the right direction. If I'm elected your mayor, I will advise Steve Hewitt on policy decisions for persons like me who want to move here and enjoy the city of Clinton and keep us moving in that right direction.
Next, Dave Thorpe, our other candidate. Tell us a little bit about your background and give us some information about your candidacy.
I've got a huge family. They're Italian, English. I've got 5 brothers and sister, all in the professional world, from healthcare consultant to you name it. My brother runs a UPS outfit down in Nashville, Tennessee. Extremely successful people. My father and mother, thank God, are still alive. They're great people. For the most part, I'm looking around and I don't see a lot of familiar faces, and there's no reason for you guys to know me. And hopefully, as it goes on, you can become familiar with me, and you'll know that I'm shooting straight with you. The thing that I want to thank you guys for even considering me. This dude here is a pretty good guy. I just met him. I've known Perry since Hector was a pup. But that's a good family, and he's a good guy. I want to throw out something, and Gerald, I'm not trying to give you any kind of kudos. I don't care what you say about me tonight. The bottom line is he's represented me well in the paper. So if you've read it, it's me. And so he hasn't minced any words. I say what I feel. Sometimes it's a little acrimonious, but it's not really meant to be that way. I just want you guys to know where I'm coming from. I want to say one thing about Republic. Here's the bottom line. I've been to these meetings, and there is no way that we can make a concrete decision on Republic because it's all been gossip. And there's no numbers. We're not seeing anything. So, hey, I feel your pain. Okay, you know, the change might not be good, but we still don't know what the bottom line is in the contract. So we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. I really think the city council meeting should be, and this is my personal opinion, humble as it may be, should be after that contract's written. Of course, Steve's negotiating his butt off right now. But we need to see the numbers. How long-term does that program work? 10 years is not a long-term program. And 10 years is a nice program. It's a cute little contract. Anyways, let me move past that because I really do. I believe the rest of the meetings should encompass the numbers game, personally. As a mayor, I serve you. You don't serve at my altar. I serve at yours. Just like everybody else does, just like Steve does, or Chief Crabtree. They need to serve at your temple, and I will. Everything you say is going to be 15 seconds. Okay. Let's move on.
Appreciate opening statements. First question, and this will go to you, Dave, and it will be, if elected, how much time do you plan to allocate to the job of mayor? And would you be able to miss multiple days of work for business, work, recruiting trips related to the city of Clinton?
Can I, because I am able to call my own shots? Yes, I can miss the time that is required, and let me kind of qualify that. With my business, there's a certain time where I'm held hostage to the customers, and so hopefully yes, but to just sit here and blow smoke, I believe I can serve the time that's needed, that's required. Yes, because I own my business. Will I sacrifice my business, the bottom line? Yes, but I can schedule around it, but it'll get difficult like that. I don't know though. I mean, you're the man.
I understand totally. You done? Move on, same question for Seth. If elected, how much time do you plan to allocate? Would you be able to miss multiple days of work for a City of Clinton trip?
I'll take the second question first. Absolutely, I can miss multiple days of work. As an attorney, I have two bosses, the courts and the IRS. So if I decide to take off of work, I'm more than welcome to do that as long as my schedule fits it. And the time that I plan to allocate as much as I possibly can. If I'm elected, I want to do the best job that I possibly can, promoting the city of Clinton and making somebody represent you to whom you can be proud of. I don't want to be in office and just kind of halfway do it and show up when I have to do it. I hope I don't get in trouble by looking at the mayor's position as a full-time job. And I think that is something that I might do. I have no doubt in my mind that my business will sacrifice the bottom line if I am elected mayor. I will lose money, but that's okay because I'm building for the future and I'm willing to do that.
Next question will be for Seth Adams first. I apologize, I just slipped here, guys. What will your philosophy be towards employees' raises during annual budget sessions? Seth, you're first.
I am a proponent of paying somebody for what they are worth. So if we have an excess budget, if we are wise enough to carry over an excess budget, and I know that we do every year, we operate in black, and I have to give kudos to Steve Hewitt and to Deborah Blanchard. But yes, if we have a budget and we have an employee who is going above and beyond, and we have the money to give that person, I am more than willing to vote for raising that person's pay. I think you have to show somebody that they're appreciated. And if somebody feels that they're appreciated, they're going to come to work and they're going to do a better job. And the society that we live in, the most straightforward way to show them that they are appreciated is in the paycheck. So yes, absolutely raises if they're earned and if we have money.
Dave, that would be the same question. How do you feel about employee raises during annual budget sessions?
You've got to yield to Steve. He's the boss of this program. The raises in the private industry is absolutely commensurate with your output. In the public, I'm going to yield to a little weakness on that. But yes, there's a stepping stone for paying people, you know, your department heads, that kind of stuff there. I'm nothing but a grade card for Steve. And that's kind of an easy position to be in, believe it or not, when you don't have to actually have your fanny on the line for that stuff. I'm all for it. If it's feasible, the bottom line is you guys are the taxpayers. You call the shots. I mean, it's great for me to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, I'm for raises," but you know what? Are you for raises? You know, and I mean this. I'm not trying to be cute about what I'm saying. I want citizens in this town, which I cut myself off earlier, to start getting involved in the bottom line of this business right here in this rectangular building. I want that. In fact, I can't demand because you guys will slap me when I walk up the door. I'm begging for it.
Next question, and Dave will be up first. What ideas do you have for economic development in Clinton? Be specific.
You know, and I heard Seth on the radio this morning, and I agree with what you said, man, about 183 I-40. That's an absolute, what a great thoroughfare. I think when you're developing that, Alan, I think, especially with 183, I really do believe that we need to put brand recognizable businesses out there. So as they're driving down I-40, pick a name, I don't care, Pizza Hut, whatever, Bonanza, whatever, Ponderosa. I think that if we have brand recognizable names there, then that they feel comfortable with the tourists or the people that are going to actually pull off that highway. That's what I would push for. I mean, and I'll help Steve in any way I can. And as I'm sure you have, you served also. Because the bottom line is having those people, those 24,000 people pull off I-40 to spend their money here, that's a freebie. And we've got to give them a compelling reason why to pull off. And I think more brand recognizable, well, even like Cody's setting up there, that's pretty well, that's not just going to be encompassing Clinton, that's going to encompass travelers, you know, for your audio, video, blah, blah, blah. That's not just Clinton, Oklahoma that does that for their vehicles. So I think that's a good start there, even for him to do that.
Same question to you, Seth.
Okay, so first off, I think so far the city of Clinton has done a really good job in economic development. And I can point to two specific policies that we have that allow for the growth of the city of Clinton directly with economic development. One is the TIF district that we were able to name and get us a water park in western Oklahoma. The second is a tax share program that we have for small businesses that allowed us to bring in KFC and Taco Bell. But I think policies like that allow small businesses to actually come into the city of Clinton and put their business here are fantastic, especially when we start talking about direct related taxes. But you also have to be able to look at other areas of Clinton that don't necessarily pay back money directly in sales tax, such as the water park or the restaurants. And when I mean things like the library and the airport and our parks. For businesses and people to look at the city of Clinton and decide that this is the place that they want to live, it has to be an attractive city in more ways than just small businesses. And when you look at people who want to move to the city of Clinton, you look at things like the libraries and the parks. And we could talk a lot about Acme Brick Park. We have a lot of acreage out there. It's a beautiful place. If anybody's been out there, I'm sure everybody has been out there in here probably. It was designed 10 years ago, and we've gone this far without any major renovations. We now have 600 members, and the membership counts increase annually. Acme Brick was not designed for 600 members. So if we can somehow invest in Acme Brick Park and design it towards all of our citizens to increase the usage, people outside of Clinton will look at our city and see that we are looking toward the future. We also have to look at other programs such as recycling, which is economic development, any way you look at it, in both examples that I just gave you, both different policy ranges. So the first is the city of Clinton, Republic, truly believes that the city of Clinton will end up making money off of recycling. The Republic believes that they will eventually write us a check for doing nothing but letting them contract our trash service at no additional cost to the city. That is direct economic development. And the second way is we have to look attractive to outside people. And the way you look attractive is we look toward the future. No matter how you look at it, I really think that I cannot imagine somebody making an argument that recycling will not be a part of the future of Clinton as well as the greater United States and all industrialized countries. Why should Clinton not get on the ground floor of that and become the recycling hub of Western Oklahoma? There's a lot of areas we can go.
Next one is Seth, you will be the first. The Chamber of Commerce and the City of Clinton have a very close working relationship. Do you support the current relationship, and/or would you plan on changing it?
Another way that a city can look attractive to outside businesses is to have a close relationship with this chamber. And I personally believe that the City of Clinton has taken steps to develop a more close relationship with the chamber, and those are good moves and wise moves. And I'm talking about specifically handing Acme over to the Chamber of Commerce and Jubilee and letting them run it. And you can point, I'm sorry, Frisco Center. And I can point to other specific examples of municipalities that have developed close relationships with their Chamber of Commerce that have allowed for economic growth. And you look at Tucumcari, New Mexico, and they work closely with their Chamber of Commerce, and they have a single brand, Tucumcari Tonight, because Tucumcari relies 100% on traveling, I-40, and overnight hotel stays. So they got together with their Chamber of Commerce and one brand, Tucumcari Tonight, to help promote people traveling down I-40 to stay in Tucumcari. And the second example I can give is Bricktown. The Chamber of Oklahoma, the OKC Chamber of Commerce and the City of Clinton developed a very close relationship, and now Bricktown is one of the best. Oklahoma City with Bricktown is one of the best and growing cities in the United States of America. I don't see how you can make the argument that the city and the Chamber of Commerce should not develop as close a relationship as possible. It's an organization funded in part by the city, but it's also funded a lot by private enterprise. And it gets the private businesses directly involved in city business and growth.
Dave, same question. They've had a good relationship. Do you anticipate that would change under your leadership as mayor?
Depends. Are they going to be revenue producing? I look at it. We give them what, $96,000 a year. I believe in my heart of hearts that they need to bring something to the table as a business. Now, right now, as we sit, all these people in here that are contributing to the Chamber of Commerce, we are in the Chamber of Commerce. We're contributing as taxpayers. Do I anticipate a good working relationship? Yeah, because I really do believe this, Alan. I think that they ought to be absolutely right in the middle of developing a game plan for Clinton, Oklahoma. They ought to be right in the middle of, let's see, different color faces, black, white, Hispanic, Indian, and saying, okay, this is where we're at. This is where we're going to go. And should they be right in the middle of it? Absolutely. Should we hold their feet to the fire? Absolutely. I mean, that's all right though. I do that every day in my business life. My butt's to the fire every day to make something happen. There's nothing wrong with that. That's nothing to run from. Yes, it should be good, but you know, we should be hammering away to make this a better town.
First one, this question will be for you, Dave. The city supports organizations such as Eastside Academy, Multi-County, Action Associates, AARP, etc. How do you feel about continuing the contributions to outside agencies, reducing or increasing, and should the city be involved with these organizations or others?
My short answer is, I don't know. I've looked at the budget. I see what's contributed. Here's what I think. I think that each one of those organizations you're talking about, and they shouldn't run from this. I mean, this is just business. The $4,000 here, this 20 grand here, 20 grand here. I don't see any reason why they can't come up. Yes, I'm for it, but come up and say, this is why we justify this. This is, hey, we're worth it. This is what we bring to the table. Sign off on it, and be done with it. Net, yes, I'm for it. But I still think that each person that's taking money from y'all's pockets should justify it. They're not taking it from mine. I'm not giving them 20 grand. I'm not giving them 4 grand at your Eastside Academy. I'm all right with it. But justify it to the taxpayers. Come to the city council who represents the taxpayers, you and the 4 other people, which are co-equals all the way across the board, and just bring it. And that's simple stuff. That's just business. But yes, I'm for it. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Would I come in and start hammering and no. Let's look at it. I mean, in fact, I saw a letter from the gal from, she was willing to come up in front of you guys, and I can't remember what organization it was. That's pretty cool, because she's willing to justify it. And I think that's neat stuff. That's business.
Seth, that would be the same question. The city supports several different private organizations. How do you feel about continuing, increasing, decreasing, and should the city be involved with these organizations?
The city should definitely be involved with these organizations, and it's true that the city of Clinton writes checks to these organizations, but these people who are members of these organizations put money in our coffers just like anybody else. And they may not be people who benefit from the Chamber of Commerce and Frisco Center, but why should we rob them of something that they can be proud of in the city of Clinton, just like me and you? If I needed to take advantage of Eastside Academy, or I had kids who wanted to take advantage of Eastside Academy, and I go and I spend money at restaurants, and I spend money at Homeland, and all of my sales tax dollars go to the city of Clinton, and now the city of Clinton wants to take away money from the Eastside Academy to which my children benefit, I would take that as a personal affront, and then I would not be able to be proud of the city of Clinton and the decisions that it makes, and I would not feel that the council represents me. Same way with Action Associates and AARP. Those people put money in our coffers just like anybody else, and they should definitely benefit from our sales tax dollars in forms of money and programs to benefit those people. Absolutely.
Next question, we're going to ask a quality of life, community, homes, different things in the city. How do you feel about non-money making areas that are important to families, such as parks, Acme, the pool, golf, etc.? How do you feel about adding more funds? How do you feel about our facilities, expanding them? Do you support new playground equipment? Just a couple of general questions there. And I believe the first one, Seth, you will be first on this one.
I've already talked about this a little bit. When somebody looks at the city of Clinton businesses or person, they look at, is this city an attractive city to live in? And one of the first things that you look at when you drive around in new cities are the parks. So we are foolish if we do not do what we can to make our parks look beautiful for people driving around visiting the city. The same goes for libraries and our airport, which doesn't our airport doesn't make money, but it's nice to have an airport that can bring in businesses that cities without airports could not bring in. What was some of the...
as far as increasing or reducing the amount of funding going to those non-revenue producing, and also there was a question in there about additions of playground equipment to the parks and increasing more programs, just a concept of that.
I think that Acme Brick Park is in desperate need of some type of programs for all ages, especially for youth. If you look at the city of Weatherford, they have baseball tournaments that bring in people from out of town, Oklahoma City, and those are outside dollars that while when you invest in a park, in programs, you might not get a direct payout, but it brings people into the city who spend money into the city. If somebody comes from Oklahoma City or Weatherford or Elk to Clinton, Oklahoma, and they have to stay here all day for a baseball tournament, they're going to spend money here. So we are wise if we invest in our parks, Acme Brick specifically when you start talking about programs. And I know that the city right now is taking steps to reach that goal, and there are steps that we need to take. Playground equipment. When you start talking about spending extra money, you obviously have to make sure that you have the money to spend first. And right now we have issues that we have to address first before we can dip into our economic development fund. And I'm specifically talking about the water issue. But I have confidence that we're going to be able to get that solved. And once we do, yes, absolutely. If we have the money to invest in non-revenue producing facilities, absolutely we should.
Dave, that would be the same question for you.
And I'm going to kind of go along the same lines you are. That, to me, in my business, I spend as little as I possibly can and make as much as I possibly can. That's just that's how you operate a business. But in the government business, there are some things that you need to provide for the citizens. Fortunately, the pressure's on Steve. I get to sit in judgment, and that's kind of an easy part. But still, I want to see the numbers. You got to take care of your kids. You got to take care of your parks. You got to take that's quality of life, as is good restaurants. But yes, I agree 100% what he's saying. Equipment, whatever it is, it needs to be looked at, and whatever it takes to increase and make them more appealing to our kids and our families. It's a necessary evil. It should be looked into real heavily.
You're listening to the Mayoral Candidate Forum here on KCLI 99.3, and the mayoral candidates for the city of Clinton, Dave Thorpe and Seth Adams, are answering questions. We've had several sent in, so we'll move on. Dave, I believe you get the first one on this one. Clinton is the only city of the big three in western Oklahoma with an economic development money set aside. Describe some situations that you would support using economic development money in Clinton.
Let me ask you this, and I don't know much about, I looked at the budget. Is economic money shifted towards revenue producing businesses? You know, I don't know. I mean, I look at the number, and it's a cute number, and I guess I don't have a real concrete answer for you, brother, because I personally think any money that we spend in like like talking about economic development or any of that kind of stuff, I think we need to earmark that towards things that are going to generate revenue for this community. In particular, I really don't know what it's set out for. I mean, so I'm going to give you my weakness there. I don't know what it's earmarked for when they do set that aside in the budget. So.
That would be the same question for you, Seth. Economic development, the city of Clinton has it set aside. What would you support using economic development money for?
First off, I think we need to hold on. I think we have $1.5 million in economic development. That's what you said. First off, we need to hold on to that right now until we get a pressing issue resolved, and that's the water issue. Until we feel comfortable that the water issue is resolved, it's nice to be sitting on $1.5 million. Once we feel comfortable with the water issue, I can go straight to economic development again, like I already said, and that's Acme Brick Park. We can design Acme Brick Park to be more friendly for persons aged 1 through 100. So we start talking about making it more available for senior citizens. We could use an indoor walking track that's heated in the winter and cooled in the summertime. A lot of people to get out of the elements. What needs to be? Specifically to economic development, you need to design Acme Brick Park or any of the other pocket parks for youth programs. And youth programs we can use to bring in outside dollars. I don't know what, so if, say we had something at Acton Brick Park every weekend that brought in outside people to Clinton. Be it a Little League baseball tournament or a soccer tournament, which I know that we'll be able to take advantage of if we're wise. That will bring in hundreds of families every weekend who will be willing to stay in Clinton all day long, and they will have to spend money. That is economic development. Same with other non-direct revenue producing facilities such as the library. If we had a good plan to invest in our library and make it more attractive to outside citizens, those are things that we really need to consider. Because we want to show outside businesses and outside people that Clinton is a city that looks toward the future, and we look toward the future to make Clinton a more friendly environment for families in which to live in.
We'll move on to the next one, and this first question will be directed at Seth Adams. What characteristics do you believe you have that make you uniquely qualified to be the mayor of Clinton?
First off, I can go directly to the first question that you asked me on. It's that I will have time. I have control of my schedule, and I will be able to dedicate time to being a good mayor. And not only will I have control of my schedule, but I'm also I'm not married and I don't have kids, so I'll have nothing to do. And I will take it as a huge privilege to be the mayor of Clinton, and I will work as hard as I possibly can to do it. I've already worked hard so far by being proactive and developing good relationships, or at least the beginnings of good relationships with the leaders around town and also the councilmen. Ever since I decided to file for mayor, I've spoke quite a bit at length with every councilman except for one. I'm thinking about him right now, he probably knows who I'm thinking about. And also, by being an attorney with Pat Cornell, it has allowed me to develop close relationships with a lot of the leaders in Clinton. And I can talk about Mr. L.R. Sides right here in the front row, Mr. Jimmy Johnson in the back row. By allowing to develop those good relationships, I feel that I can always go into these people's office and sit down and talk with them and let them know what I'm thinking, and I can get input back from them, because these people have lived in Clinton for a long time. And when you start talking about business people, they are wise and they know how to inject energy into an organization to help it grow. So basically my ability to develop relationships and listen, and I promise that whatever decision I will make will be for the best interest of the city of Clinton. Like I said, if I win, I will sacrifice to do a good job.
The same question will go to Dave Thorpe. What characteristics do you believe make you uniquely qualified to be mayor?
I know the numbers game. I know the bottom line of the business. This is a business. Take it or leave it. It's a business. Steve runs this program. I will be able to help him, and I'm sure he doesn't need my help, but I'm going to be there anyways. You know? And I'm going to not probably be too comfortable to work with, because even on my business, my first step is I'm not spending that money. And again, I realize there's programs in a government system that you're going to just have to spend it. I get it. And I think my strength is I can discern numbers. I've looked at the budget. I think these guys have done well without me for 30 years, so it's not like they're just dying to have me as mayor. But I really do believe, on the flip side, I'm an ear for you guys and girls. You come to me, you tell me what you want. I don't tell you what you want. I work for you. And I believe that we can tie that in together, because I'm going to harken back to what I said before. I want this room packed full of people every city hall meeting. Everyone. Saying either you like it or you don't like it, i.e. Republic. But I want you here, not for me, because you deserve to have answers. And I'll listen. No, and I'll react. You call the shots. You're the game plan. You're the people that create the game plan, not me.
I'll tell you what, we'll do one last question from the list, and then we'll take what we have from the audience. And if we run out of audience, we're anticipating about 7:30. We'll try to wrap it up unless we run out of things. So that'll kind of give you our time frames. One last question from the pre-questions. that long. You guys may be standing here by myself. Much has been said about the big box stores. Will you as mayor, and I believe this goes to you first, Dave, will you as mayor support big box recruitment if opportunities arise?
Absolutely. In fact, I worked in the business with my dad. He served from the United Kingdom to California. The big box stores, if you, and I know the small businesses run from them. If you've got a good business profile, you're going to survive it. That's the bottom line. I don't care if it's Super Walmart. Pick a name, not Target. When Elmer opened up south of town, and he's got, you know, what, a plethora of stuff, boats and golf cars, which I'm a golf cart guy. He could crush me like a bug. Thank God he doesn't. But he could if he decided, I'll run your butt out of business today, Thorpe. But my business profile was good enough, thank God, you know, through my parents. You know, my dad owned his own business for many years. I'm all for it. I will. In fact, if Hugh had said, hey, go talk to these people and find out who the go-to person is, and they've got a profile for setting up in a town our size. I mean, they're not, this isn't their first rodeo. I would be happy to lead the rush towards it. And you know, the worst thing they can do is say no. That's it. And then as you start keeping going to these people, your sales pitch starts getting to the point where they can't say no. You start cornering them into saying yes, just like when I sell golf cars. 11 years ago, I stumped the place up. Jack Zemer owned the place. He was kind of my mentor. He couldn't fix anything, but he was a good salesman. And I'll guarantee you, you learn your sales pitch. You learn how, but if you don't act, you're never going to sharpen those skills. But I'm all for it. I'm sorry.
Big box stores, the same question to you, Seth. Will you as mayor support big box recruitment if opportunities arise?
I think you have to be really careful before you start promoting a big box store in the city of Clinton, because not only should our goal be to grow the city of Clinton, but we have a lot of people who have lived here for a long time and established businesses and contribute a lot to the city of Clinton, and we don't want to take away from them for something minimal that a large store could provide, such as Lowe's, or that's just the first one that comes to mind. And there are a lot, I think it would be a very complicated matter, because I know that there are a lot of levels of economics when you start talking about big box stores and municipalities the size of Clinton. Fortunately, no doubt, there are so many studies that are done on, in exact examples and circumstances just like this, such as, you know, City A in Kansas was about the size of Clinton. It brought in the Lowe's. What did that do to the City A and small businesses and sales tax revenue of that city? Same with Walmart or Target. So I think you have to be careful before you start recruiting big box stores, because, like I said, not only do you have the goal to let Clinton grow, but you have to somehow protect, to some extent, protect the citizens that we already have that already contribute to the city of Clinton. So you have to analyze it very carefully and look in the past, other municipalities who have taken the same decisions, made the same decisions, and see if that decision paid off for them. My guess is that it depends upon which big box store you're looking at.
I will take questions from the audience that these gentlemen can field. If you have a question, just raise your hand. Over here.
I like both of your comments and everything. I just wondered about things like trying to get old folks' homes in here, or other industries in here. A lot of communities are going to these individual retirement center things for older people, and it does bring money in, because the money usually comes from retirement funds and Social Security, so it is almost like an industry. I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that. And the other thing is all these things that you said are basically allocations of resources, and Dave's really mentioned that. You do have to make a decision on if you're going to give somebody some money. You just can't say, oh, this is a good deal, let's give them money. You have to say, we have so much and let's do something with it. And I like your idea about acting with
So the question to you gentlemen, Seth, you will be first, is the industry that is becoming kind of a cottage industry, recruiting retirement homes for the elderly. How do you feel about that? Is that something that you would be interested in supporting?
That's something, my guess is very specific as to tax revenue expenditures and any kind of allocations that the federal state government will allow. Obviously, if somebody's willing to come in and put in a retirement center to Clinton with the help of the city, and we're able to make that decision, we should definitely make that decision to help out the elderly and the aging citizens of Clinton. So absolutely, but that's something that obviously should be taken on a case-by-case basis, because there are so many factors that you'd have to consider. And primarily I'm thinking about federal and state grants and money that provided to them, and I have no idea what an industry like that would pay in sales tax, or what it would cost the city of Clinton to bring it in. But if the city of Clinton is able to recruit an individual who is willing to come in and help the elderly citizens of Clinton, why would we not do that if we are able?
You look at the percentages in Clinton, Oklahoma, and I've kicked that around with a lot of the guys that come around my shop. I think, first of all, I think the elderly, the senior citizens have a strong voice. We're looking at like 25% strong. I don't know how the villages work, stuff like that. That's above my pay grade. I don't know if they do work on government grants. I don't get that. So you know, I'd be talking in complete platitudes. But I think it's a great move if we could go out and attract those people to come in here and put a 27-hole golf course and put their little community, private community. Again, I don't know the dynamics on how to do it. I just be lying.
Question from audience for the back left there.
I just want to ask, what do you see as the biggest challenge to growing the Clinton economy, and what would be your plan of action to overcome that challenge?
Let me restate that for the folks that are listening on the radio. Question is, what do you see as the biggest challenge to the Clinton economy, and what would you
to growing
the Clinton economy, and what would be your game plan for that particular to try to increase that?
And he nodded his head when we were talking about growing our tax base. I assume this, i.e., like you harken back to what he said about a big box store. And I realize we can't run from these things anymore. We can't protect everybody. It's good business. And again, if you have a good profile, you're going to survive it. The only thing you can do is follow the traffic. And the traffic says here and east-west. 7,800 cars a day. 21, 22, 23,000 cars a day. A day. And I realize there's some things that are going to be tough to get. Jimmy, we talked about at the Lions Club. I realize there's going to be a lot of hugging and kissing and trying to get people to get off High Center. But we've got a lot of area out there that we have no shot at right now. And they're ready to spend their money with us because they're sure enough ready to spend it elsewhere. And somehow, again, I think brand name people are going to be important. Now, as I understand, Hutch is fixing to set up his shop over by Subway Sandwich. Well, my people tell me, and this might be bull crap, so this is not corroborated, but they're going to put a Pizza Hut over there. And I understand Hutch and the Pizza Hut people are tight. And I think it's a great move for Pizza Hut. They're abandoning that part of town, in droves. Kentucky Fried Chicken moved over, like he was talking about that tax share deal. That's what I think. Move to the traffic. Downtown's wonderful. Move to the traffic.
First off, you obviously have to take advantage, to bring in small businesses, you obviously have to take advantage of tax incentive programs, like the TIF district program and the tax sharing program that like I talked about earlier. Then I think, when you start talking about the biggest challenge, I think we have to make Clinton look attractive to outside businesses and people, and the way you do that is by showing those businesses and people that Clinton is a city that looks toward the future. So to show people that Clinton is a city that looks towards the future, you have to be willing to invest in facilities that do not directly generate revenue. And again, I'm talking about Agri Park, a golf course, our library, the airport. One way we can do that, specifically to the golf course, is to develop the best relationship possible we can with CNA and the casino. CNA and the casino has a huge incentive to make the golf course as beautiful as possible. And people, when they look at a city the size of Clinton, the nicer the golf course is, that has a direct reflection on how nice the city is and how attractive the city it is. The second thing, we have to be willing to make the decision to adopt programs like the recycling program that's in front of us right now. Because like I said earlier, no doubt recycling is a part of the future of all the municipalities around the United States, and we have to be willing to make the decision, and like I said before, get it on the ground floor and show people that we are willing to make the change and look toward the future. A third thing is to make the city look attractive to outside people, and that's to develop good relationships with the business leaders around town and also with the Chamber of Commerce. Because when a business looks to the city of Clinton, whether or not they're going to invest in the city of Clinton, they're going to look to how the city is getting along with its people to make the decisions. And, again, I'm talking about the business leaders in the Chamber of Commerce. So I think those are three pretty specific examples that we can use to promote Clinton and make it more attractive to outside people.
Let's go back here in the right corner, this gentleman.
Thank you. I have some ideas of what would be needed, but I wanted to throw this out there in the way of a question in terms of the property values, the quality of life issues, and the code enforcement. And I'm sure that Councilmember Smith has heard my side of this story, but what are we going to do to address those concerns where it relates to the east side?
And the question was
The question
quality of
was,
life and also the
property values
Property
people
values.
concerned about, all these are quality of life issues, but primarily the code enforcement
code enforcement
and the property
and
values.
property values
Yes.
and quality of life in the east side area. And I believe we are back over to Seth first.
As the code enforcement, the city of Clinton and its police department should protect the people in the east side just as much as it protects anybody else. So the way you protect those people on the east side is you enforce the codes that are put in place to protect the law-abiding citizens. Another thing would be cleanup, and again I can go back to the recycling. The way you clean up is you take the dumpsters out of the alleys. Now that way people are no longer driving down an alleyway and they see a dumpster and they toss a piece of trash out. We no longer have dumpsters. The city of Clinton should be as strict as it possibly can be on code enforcement, and hopefully if we do adopt the recycling program, when you start talking about the cleanliness of the east side, trash in the alleyways, the recycling program will only help that and allow us to pinpoint persons who are breaking the code. Quality of life, I'm all for it. I know I've never visited the inside of the East Side Academy, but I would love to. I would love to, and I'd be willing, and I'm open to any advice that the leaders of the East Side can give me, and if I can make it possible, I will help make it possible as much as I possibly can. Because if I'm mayor, I will take it as a moral objective to represent everybody in the city of Clinton equally, and I mean that.
Same question.
Let me turn this around real quick.
Yes.
Because sometimes I don't understand words and what they mean to you. Quality of life to you, what do you want me to answer? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, brother. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand quality of life, but what's it mean to you?
I returned to Clinton a year ago, and chose to live over on the east side. And I do see some differences, especially where we look at property values once you cross 4th Street and the property that's located in the western part of the city. And I have some idea that the code enforcement does have a lot to do with that. And I also have a good idea that it's related to the budget. And again, I haven't heard enough about the consensus building efforts on the part of 3 other council members to make sure that we address the issues as it relates to the east side.
Let me ask you real quick.
Yes.
Code enforcement means
Code enforcement.
cleanliness, animals. I mean, what? I'm sorry, I'm weak on this.
That's a fair one. Code enforcement, what do you have on the books now? If it applies to Rolling Hills, why doesn't it apply
Amen.
to East Side?
Yep, 100%.
Okay, so what are your ideas about what you're gonna do about that? I'd like to hear it.
Well, in the eyes of the law, if they see color, then they don't understand me. If it's a code in East Side, if it's a code in Rolling, it's all encompassing in my eyes. Of course, I'm a mayor. I'm not, I'm not a police officer, and I'm not, But as far as representing you or represent Curtis or anybody else, I don't put one person over another. But fair is fair. If a rule's a rule, you follow that rule of law. You don't discern where it's at. It doesn't matter. It should not. It should not matter. And I don't think it does. I think Chief Crabtree does a good job, and you might take umbrage with that. But I think okay, you may. But anyways.
Next question.
This community was the hub of our health care for a number of years. When I came back 20 years ago, health care has changed dramatically. Would you please address the city and our hospital and the maintaining of keeping physicians and healthcare professionals in here to provide quality of health care right here in Clinton, rather than everybody going outside of our
Let me
customers?
rephrase that real quickly and make sure I get it right. Healthcare has changed a lot in the last 20 years, and you're wanting to know what these candidates will do to maintain the doctors in Clinton and to continue to provide the level of healthcare that all citizens would like.
My understanding is that this hospital took a 20-year management agreement. Our city still has some ownership. Is that still correct?
Yeah, they've got some
So there
automatic
is
roll-up.
still a tie-in
Definitely has
with
some
that
input.
industry.
So,
Please address that.
As
can you
I
address that, Dave?
Yes, as I've read with HMA, and I've heard some terrible things about it, and my girlfriend works out there. I've heard, that it's not the greatest thing in the world, but, and Steve, I don't know if you did it or if Ryan negotiated that contract. It's pretty ironclad. They gotta, continue to have the 56-room facility and the insurance, and they gotta maintain a certain board of directors, a certain percentage related to doctors and citizens of Clinton, and some of that stuff. Let me tell you guys this, and this is, I'll probably lose your vote. My brother John, my oldest brother, is in the healthcare field. He's a consultant. He used to be a CFO, CEO, all those other great acronyms. The hospital industry changes on a dime. But I feel, and if you go to the website, it pretty well spells it out. They're pretty solid in the wording to where our butts are covered. And now I think within 4 years, as I read, they can actually make an offer to purchase it in the first 4 years of the, I think it's a 15-year contract. It may be 20 though. It isn't.
I believe, wasn't Steve? Wasn't that a 20-year?
The original contract was 20 years.
Okay. But it's pretty well, our butts are covered. But at this point, I don't know how you control the services. I've had a number of people say, this is terrible. I really have. I don't know how you control it at this point. I think we're kind of like this at that point. We're kind of handcuffed at the service end of it.
Seth, same question.
I'm personally of the opinion that the government should step up when private industry is unable to do so. And we start talking about the hospital, the medical field, as of right now, private industry was willing to step up and take on the field. So it is in our best interest, because the medical field is so complicated, because it does alter so quickly, to get as much input as possible and not try to micromanage a private facility or private industry that's going to run our hospital. Now that being said, we still owe a huge duty to our citizens to provide the best environment for the healthcare field to practice in our city. I think the city of Clinton made a good decision when they brought in the private corporation to lease our hospital off of us. And it's simply because it's such a complicated industry. And again, if a private industry is willing to step up and take charge, let them do that because they're going to be more educated in that specific field. The best thing we can do right now is get input from our citizens who are visit the hospital and either have some input for us and then relay that input to the people who run our hospital right now. Because just as much as we do, they have an interest in seeing that our hospital grow and that our medical care, the medical care they provide to our citizens being as good as possible.
Question from the audience? We'll go right over here and we'll catch you next. Yes, ma'am.
This is gonna sound kind of funny, but I'm looking around and I always see a couple of people that are close and near my age, maybe 5. So I'm gonna ask this. You graduate between 100 and 150 kids every year from Clinton High School. A good chunk of them go to college. Southwestern has 3 of the top programs in the state in their education, nursing, and pharmacy programs. That's 15 miles away, so those kids aren't far away when they're graduating. And you're getting all these kids leaving, and they're not coming back. What reason do we have, as someone who is of that age or older, what reason do people who are of a younger age have a reason to come to Clinton? Where, I hate to say this, there's nothing to do here. That sounds bad, but there's nothing for us to do. If we want to go see a movie, we gotta go to Weatherford or Oklahoma City. If I want to go shopping for really anything, I've got to go to Weatherford, Oklahoma City, or Rock City. I can't do anything here. What's my reason for wanting to come here beyond, I have found it here?
Let me rephrase that for those listening on the radio. Question's been asked about youth, and we graduate 100 and some kids a year. They all go to college 15 miles away, but most of them move away and do not come back. And the lack of things for youth to do in Clinton, is that pretty much?
Not just youth, because when I think youth, I think high school kids. I mean
College kids?
Older than that.
I'm youth.
That's
We've got basically something to do in Clinton for the generations that live here. And I believe, are we at? Dave. Thank you.
That has been brought up 8 million times. How you get private enterprise to invest in this community is got to be the sole professional services or whatever management services. Private enterprise is going to drive that. We personally, as government entities, we're going to be limited on what we're going to do with y'all's money. To give you a definitive answer, I'm weak because it's a great question and I absolutely suck at the answer because I want my daughter lives, she works at the con show. You know, I'd love to have her back here. You know, my son's over in Tulsa, he matched 28, Maria's 27, 20, 21, whatever it was. I'd love to have her back here, but your point's well taken and I don't know a great answer to just dazzle you. I don't know.
Same question, Seth.
So the first thing that comes to my mind, Killian, is what I've been talking about all night long, and that's the investment in the parks, like fitness center, facilities that don't necessarily directly generate revenue, but make our city a more attractive city in which to live. There was one part of your question there, you said, why should somebody think that the city of Clinton is a good city in which to live? Obviously, I think you're talking about more things like nightlife, like movies or restaurants or shopping or things like that, that are businesses that directly generate revenue. And I think if somebody asks, why would Clinton be a good city in which to live, you can see that we are on the right path, and we are just steps away from getting something, from getting facilities that will make shopping better, or a movie place, or something like that. And you can look to the progress that we're making right now. Indoor water park, you're probably a little too old for that. A new fire station, renovated police department. And those are all things, the steps that the city has taken to make our city a more attractive city. The housing project, the housing projects that we have, it's going to, I think it's 40 houses? 41 houses, 1,400 to 2,200 square foot homes that young people hopefully will be able to purchase. So the city of Clinton, you can easily make the argument to somebody that the city of Clinton is an attractive city in which to live because it's a city right now that's looking toward the future. And again, you can also look to the plan that we have for us right now. Clinton is likely to be the recycling hub of the Western Oklahoma. So The city of Clinton is a city, can be a city rising. We just have to be willing to make the decisions that will allow us to do that. And right now, as of right now, we are. We just have to keep that forward momentum.
We're going to come right back to you. Was that your question?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
She covered it. Yeah.
That's okay. That was a good question. Let's go back behind you to Rod Surface.
You've talked a lot about retail development, things like this, and this kind of ties into what she's talking about. Give me your views on industrial development. You know, when people want to come back to live in Clinton, Oklahoma, they've got to have good paying jobs, you know. So, you know, tell me what your views is on how, on industrial
The
development.
question was industrial development. Would you share your views with us on that? And first, we'll get Seth.
So industrial development, if I am a business owner who has the ability to establish a business in a community like Clinton and generate a lot of jobs, I'm going to look at the health of that city. And the way I look at the health of that city, I look to see what they're doing right now. And one thing that, again, I can go back to the recycling. I think it's a program that will show businesses that we're willing to make a change to look toward the future. It's going to be about relationships between the city and the Chamber of Commerce and how the relationship is necessary, as well as all the community leaders around town. Healthy relationships with all the community leaders. And also taking steps that will allow those people, the workers in the city, to have a good quality of life. And that can go back to everything that I've talked about tonight, about parks. And also, specifically, you can talk about the housing project that the city of Clinton is building to build homes that will be nice for the workers to live in, but that they can also afford. And then you have to look at the city's infrastructure. The city of Clinton right now is developing infrastructure and investing in infrastructure, especially when you talk about services. You can talk about the fire department and the renovation of the police department, and also you can talk about garbage. Contracting our garbage out to somebody who's willing to separate our recyclables from our non-recyclables and end up hopefully selling that program to other cities around town. So we have to show somebody who is willing to come and invest in the city of Clinton that would be a good investment to make, and that it would be a good environment for their workers to live in.
Dave, same question.
Straightforward answer, Rod, is you've got to start somewhere, and you've got to start asking these people to come set their tent up here in Clinton, Oklahoma. They're going to tell you why they don't want to be here, and we've got to be smart enough to listen to them. And then we've got to be smart enough to be nimble enough to make the changes. And I'm sure that's being done, so I'm not reinventing the wheel on this. They're not just going to come just because we've got a great park. And quality of life is important, high schools, that kind of stuff, so I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying. I just think that we need to start asking the question, how do we get your business? Where did who was that old boy at the Lions Club? Doyce Walker, was that him? He asked where Walgreens went. He asked where Super Walmart went. Where did it go? And I mean, I don't know, but how did we lose it? What horse crap one-liner did we lay on them? Or what did we not do to entice them to set their camp up here in Clinton, Oklahoma, which I love this place. I think it's a great place to live. I know it is. I've been here forever. I think we need to start with asking the basic questions to the people that have the coins and get answers. And if they say no, the next time we're going to make it harder for you to say no. And I realize that's a generic answer, but you've got to go to the money people. I'm not the guy. I'm not going to employ 50 guys. It's me. But going to the big time operators and kind of begging them. I'm in. I'm there. Just ask me.
Questions right over here?
How do both of you feel about developing a long-term Mike Lee type game plan for the city of Clinton, so that every time we have a shuffle through council or through manager, we know a direction and we have an idea of how we want this community to be? How would you go about developing that plan?
Question was, would you be interested in some form of a long-term plan that would carry forward through the different changes in the council? Yes, and along that same line, how would you go about developing that plan? And Dave, you're right, you're next.
I brought that up at the Lions Club meeting, Jim. I believe, and this is why I think a short and long-term program is good for Clinton, Oklahoma, and I believe the chamber should be right in the middle of that. And I think it should be a consortium of taxpayers, not me. I'm not the brightest guy in the world. Surround yourself with people that are brighter than you. The short and long term, why it's important to me, and just like Jason was asking, it's important to have that. And Steve should be dead butt in the middle of it. Because, hell, he's quality, he's gonna move sometime. But the bottom line is that should just be an exchangeable part. We should, we shouldn't run around like our hair's on fire when a new city manager, and then, you know, we're going, oh geez, my God. We should say, no, we've got our program, this is our direction. This is where we're going. We'd like for you to help enhance our game, but this is our direction, thank you. And I think it makes it easier. Not that you just replace it with a warm body, because I think the city manager is way important to enhance our game plan. But like I said, take the Chamber of Commerce, get a consortium of taxpayers. I want every color involved. Not just that color, every color. And let's get rolling on this program. We're represented by a number of cultures, and they need to be involved in the game plan.
Seth, same question.
Yeah, game plan is obviously important. You can't argue against having a game plan. And I think right now we actually have the basic outline of the game plan. When you start looking at the things that we're doing right now, first off, number one on our game plan, which I'm sure everybody's aware of, especially you, Jason, is to solve the water issue. I know that a lot of Steve's time and a lot of your time goes towards solving that water issue. So that's the first step of our game plan right now. Another, and then the second step after that should be to make the city of Clinton an attractive place in which to live. And I think we're also taking steps to do that. When you look at the housing plan that you put into place, and then the new fire department and a police department that's going to be able to operate more safely with new technology, a water park. We're making the city of Clinton as attractive as we can right now under the circumstances. There's no reason why we can't get more specific into the future, and those would go directly to the things that I've already talked about, making the city of Clinton attractive. And what I can talk about right now with you is specifically at Brick Park. And I think that you have actually undergoing steps to generate some specifics as to Acme Brick Park to make Clinton a more attractive place in which to live. I know that right now there's a firm, an engineering firm, analyzing Acme Brick Park to see what the use of it is and to see what our program needs would be for the future and give us what we should spend our money towards on the creation of facilities to create programming to bring in outside people. So yes, a plan is important. I think that we actually work on a plan right now when you look at the specific steps that we're actually taking. Should we get more specific in the future? Why not?
Next question. Do we have a question from the audience?
Do you have any ideas on encouraging citizens to utilize the vacant lots in our older neighborhoods?
Question was, do we have any ideas to encourage people to use the vacant lots in some of our older neighborhoods? Seth, you would have this question first.
You can go directly toward cleanliness. Right? So, and it's hard to think about a specific plan. Well, I can give you a couple of specifics right now when we start going towards cleanliness and the attractiveness of empty lots. One, you can go towards code enforcement, to which the gentleman in the back asked earlier. Strict code enforcement as much as possible. And the second step, which would help code enforcement, is to, I'm going to go back to recycling, because that is a specific step that would go towards the cleanliness of empty lots, especially when you start talking about dumpsters, removing dumpsters from the alleys, and removing the incentive for people to drive down alleys and dump trash. So those are two pretty good specifics that I think would go towards managing the empty lots in Clinton and making them more attractive.
Dave, the same question.
Can I throw this back at you? You're talking about putting something on that property or keeping it clean?
Permanent usage.
Yeah. Ron, I don't know, because man, when you're dealing with private enterprise, that's a tough gig, man. You take somebody by the neck and say, hey, put a house up here, or whatever code is enforced in that particular neighborhood. I don't have a good answer for you. How's that? I don't know. When private enterprise is involved, it's tough, because they're gonna make the call. Is this good? My bottom line.
Questions? Phyllis?
I know this is probably crazy because I'm a council person, but one of the things that I hear so much from is minority leadership in Clinton. Being minority African American, and I grew up, and so this is home for me. And I came back home and got back involved and actively involved in Clinton, but I've kind of always been that way. But how can we attract more minority leadership, and not just African American, but Native American, Hispanic? We need all of it. We need some of our young people to come forward, and we need your help. You know, everybody talks about the council and not being very many people here, but we've got some wonderful programs going on, and not just because I'm a part of it, but we do. We have some positive things going on, positive things that are happening. Our meetings are always open. Our ward meetings are happening now, and they're open. And if we look at the minority representation, it's few and far between that is coming. So we need help there. You know, our chamber is willing to do as much as they can. They do as much as they can, as much as they want to, but this is where some of our businesses, we need their help. And if they employ minorities, we need them when we're having a chamber luncheon. We need your minorities to come to that chamber luncheon. We need your minorities at council meetings. So what are suggestions you have?
Question would be, how do we get minorities, which we have a large, wide variety of minorities and ethnicities in Clinton, how do we get those people involved at a higher level? And Dave, that would be you first.
I think that's a fair question. My two kids are Cheyenne and Arapaho, half of course. And how do you get them involved? I've been to the chamber deal. I went to the Kiwanis deal. Who was that last one I went to? Lions Club. There's not diversity in those groups. How do you take them by their ear and say, get part of this program? You know, I don't know. I mean, but they should be, because we've got great leaders in those groups that should be part of the decision-making in this town, because their 4 cents on the dollar is every bit as valuable as mine or anybody else's, and they should have a stake in this program. And how you do it, it can be grueling. You know, this is the first time, my first foray into doing this. It can be a stinker, you know, to get out front and be counted for. There's some pressure involved in it. And how do you get those guys off the sideline and say, hey, make stuff happen? Because there's eminently qualified people of all races. How you get them to get to the forefront, and because I've been to these council meetings, I pay attention. We need more diversity in this room here, because it affects everybody. I don't think any of the council members, albeit you or Jason or anybody else, should be left free to roam without the taxpayers being in your left ear. And I really believe that. I'm not just, pulling this, out of my archives.
We can practice outreach programs if we want to. I think we should do that, like investing if we can in Eastside Academy and inviting people to come to our meetings. When you start talking about young minority families, again, it's everything that we've talked about tonight, is making the city of Clinton a more attractive city in which to live. But we can only go so far. At some point, the burden rests on the shoulders of the leaders of the minority community. You're here tonight, but you need more people from the east side to be here tonight. And I'm not going to go out there and tell a man who's twice my age that he needs to come here tonight. For what reason? I'm not going to do that. He has the free will just as much as I do, and I'm here tonight because I want to be a part of the city of Clinton. So we can practice outreach programs, and we should do that whenever possible, and invite them to come, invite minority leaders to come here. But at some point, the burden rests upon them to get involved themselves. And I believe that also.
Questions from the audience? Mr. Malloy?
Bob Leonard.
Oh, pardon me. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here looking.
This is kind of a follow-up question to the earlier one about the vacant lots. the city of Clinton has a lot of vacant lots, some in nice areas of town and some in the poorer areas of town, some in the older areas of town. But the city decided recently that those lots were very difficult to get builders to build on. And they are. It's a tough, tough thing. So you created the plan to do that. I think it's the Robinson addition out at the old drive-in place. The engineering has been done. I'd like, my question is, do you support that development out there for some moderately priced lots on which moderately priced homes would be built by somebody, private developers hopefully? But there's a lot of money yet to be spent out there to put in the water lines, to put in the sewer lines, to build the streets that have to be built out there before builders are going to come and build homes. What is your position in regard to that development out there at Robinson Addition? That's my question.
Bob, I've got my eyes lasered. I'm not wearing glasses. This is right when I can see
problem.
Dave.
No problem.
I'm sorry. It would be the first time that I would ever pick anybody wrong out of the audience. The question is, the new Robinson Addition has been platted. It's moving forward, but there will be some votes coming up to actually spend the money and build the infrastructure. What is your position in standing upon that? And I believe, Seth, are you first here?
Yes, we should absolutely spend the money, because again, it goes to everything that I've said tonight, making Clinton an attractive city in which to live, by offering housing in that middle income range, by offering persons who might be looking to move to Clinton, and having a new house in which to live that's affordable, might just push them over that step. And I know that private contractors have already been in touch with the city and willing to build. And if you look at the city of Weatherford, they have lots going up like crazy. Contractors willing to build spec homes because they know they will sell. And if you ask Mr. Johnson in the back, I believe that he has a lot of confidence that the houses that we plan to build out there, he will be able to move. So absolutely we should build the houses, because it only makes Clinton an attractive place for somebody looking to buy a new home with their kids and make the decision to move to Clinton.
Are you willing to spend the money for the utilities and the streets?
Let's let Dave have his answer on this first.
I can keep this short. I believe, and I know there's some dynamics involved here. I am totally diametrically opposed to government being in private enterprise. Would I spend your money? Because I'm not spending my money. I'm spending your money. And would I? I'd be hard pressed. Do we put ourselves in a position where we butt heads with private enterprise? I don't know. I would like to be closer with the decision making to give you a more informed answer. Again, I'm against government being in private enterprise, doing anything with y'all's money, because really it's not my call, it's y'all's call. It's your 4 cents on the dollar paying for that out there. It's not mine. And would I do it? I think if private builders felt as though it would work, they wouldn't need us to come to the rescue. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I know you've looked at that, Steve, forever. When you're spending somebody else's money, it's not monopoly money. And I think it needs to be well thought out. And I think taxpayers should have the input on it, not me. You talking to me saying, kill it. And I will do what your will is.
Questions from
Can
the
I
audience?
make another comment on
Okay, yeah, follow up. I think that's what they call it.
It's been about 25 years, or maybe 30, since the last subdivision was platted in Clinton. Am I correct? Anybody dispute that?
No.
The city decided that the people from 25, 30 years ago who were doing subdivision developments are not around. They're not going to do it. So the city decided to do it. And I'm not trying to campaign for or against your spending the money out there at the Robinson Addition. But it's going to be helpful to us to know what your position is about spending money out there on infrastructure, streets, water, sewer, so that the homes can be built. Hopefully the city's not going to build the houses. I would be opposed to that.
I think there's a follow-up statement just to fulfill. What's the next question? Do we have another question from the audience?
And we're ready.
Time for one more. We have one more. Let's go back over here in the corner.
This is a little bit tongue in cheek. Seth, I want to see your library card. Dave, I want to see your pilot's license. We invest, we call it an investment in the appearance of the city, in making it appealing to people coming from the outside. And I am tongue in cheek about that to a point. Very often, what starts out an investment becomes almost an entitlement to some of these things. Back to Thorpe said something about kind of proving up a need for it. How do we discern how much to invest in each of these based on the draw to people outside the community?
What would you mean become an entitlement? I'm not sure I follow your language.
What starts out appearing to be an investment after 4 or 5 years, we just automatically pay up. So then it becomes almost
This is what we do all the
to
time.
whatever group. I don't think, Thorpe, you belong to AARP, but it's a good investment. How do we know how much to put in to those things? That's where I'm at.
Let me rephrase that. There are several things the city does, airport, library, AARP, that the city invests money in, and after a number of years that becomes more just an automatic disbursement to those groups, to that commitment to those things. How do we know, as the mayor, how will you know that those are good investments in those infrastructure items and or those groups?
Well, the airport, I believe that's totally quality. I mean, I believe in my heart we've got to be involved in that. I really do. The other outfits, AARP, the only reason I don't belong to AARP, Douglas, is because I don't want to be a number. AARP does not care what I have to say. They just want me to be a number, so when they go to Washington and they poke their numbers up there, they don't care they're not calling me up and saying, hey Dave, what do you think about this? But as far as the other things, Alan, and this, like what Douglas, after he threw me under the bus, called me old, I'll guarantee you, the other outfits just need to come and say, hey, this is why we're worthy of taking your money. They're not taking mine. I'm not contributing personally. The taxpayers are. But that's where I want to argue back all the time. That's where I'm at.
Seth, same question.
I think you can start off with the baseline as to what we already provide them, and then go forward with that, seeing what they use it for, and then seeing what the city of Clinton gets out of it. And I have no doubt that that's probably the process that we take already. And you can look at, and to support that, that's the process that we take already. You can look at the steps that we've taken so far, and you can look specifically at the Western Technology Center. The Western Technology Center came to us, and they asked us to make a proposal to them to give them funding so that they could build a fire training school within the city limits. We didn't just, and they actually gave us a specific number compared to a number that Weatherford gave us. And we did not just say, yes, we want it, here's the money, please come here. We made them give us specifics as to what we can expect to get out of our investment. And then after that, only after they gave us those specifics, we analyzed the situation, and it's unclear to us right now whether or not we're going to take those steps. But we do make them come to us with specifics. So when you start talking about investments, first off, you got to look to see what the city of Clinton's going to get out of it, and then you make the decision whether or not it's a wise decision from there.
I believe that's the time we have for our questions. I'd like to thank you all for being here. I would tell you that these two gentlemen, we need a mayor. And whether you win or lose, I've lost, I've won. It's an honor. It's really something that when you run for office, you do carry the crown jewels around in your pocket, especially when you're the mayor. So this is going to be a big position for these guys. They're going to devote more time than they can comprehend to being mayor. And I would congratulate and thank them, because you need, Dennis Baxter told me one time, you need good people running for office, and you need more than one good person running for office. And so I compliment both of them on their answers tonight. Hopefully this will be informative. We'd like to thank the Chamber for sponsoring this event. And I'd like to thank Dave Thorpe and Seth Adams for taking their time to come and help us determine who we vote for come voting day in November. So thank you all for being here.